happened down in Florida with the tiger.
Right. Well, Bernie Sanders getting a rare 5-minute meeting with the Pope himself, with Pope Francis this weekend.
We had the opportunity to meet with him this morning, and it was a real honor for me, for my wife and I, to spend some time with him. I think he is one of the extraordinary figures, not only in the world today, but in modern world history.
Well, the pair's meeting was closed off to the public. The Pope saying, quote, "If anyone thinks that greeting someone is getting involved in politics, I recommend he look for a psychiatrist." So why was such a historical meeting kept private?
Fox News religion contributor Father Jonathan Morris has a theory as to why and joins us now. What's that theory, Father?
I don't have a theory. I mean, I'm not guessing. I lived 9 years in Rome at the Vatican, and I know how this works. I mean, always something else could have happened, but the Pope himself said what happened was I was leaving in the morning very early to go visit the refugees in Greece, and Bernie Sanders and his wife were there waiting for him in the hallway at the guest house where he and all the other participants in this Congress, in this convention about the world economy were staying. And it's the guest house where Pope Francis also lives, right? He lives in a guest house, not in the papal palaces anymore. And as he said, as I was coming out, he was there waiting for me, and he said I gave him a handshake, and he said nothing else. He said it was a handshake and nothing else.
So wait a second, because yesterday Bernie Sanders, with our own Amy Kellogg after the interview, it sounded like they had this long discussion, a long talk. He was talking about morality. They were talking about global, income inequality and so forth. Does it seem to your mind that they would have been able to get to all of these topics?
I'm not saying that Bernie Sanders is lying about it. My guess is he said those things rather quickly.
I think Bernie Sanders said it to him. Said it to the Pope.
Yeah, probably, and there's probably, but let me just read the words of Pope Francis. He said, when I came down, he introduced himself, and I greeted him with a handshake, nothing more. It's common courtesy. That is called common courtesy. If anyone thinks that greeting someone is getting involved in politics, I recommend he gets a psychiatrist. That's pretty close. It doesn't mean that they didn't exchange some words, and I'm sure he said, this is what I want to talk to the Pope about, this, and this. But personally, I think the Pope was trying to be courteous, as he said, but you have to know that you're in a campaign season.
Sure. And speaking of that, let's look at the bigger picture. Will this sway Catholics to vote for Bernie Sanders? We've got this big battle going on in the Empire State on Tuesday. Will it help them?
You know, I don't know about swaying Catholics. Catholics just don't vote for whatever the Pope tells us to vote for. You know, I think Catholics are like the rest of the population in terms of discerning the best candidate. But yes, I think it tells more of the story of who Bernie Sanders is, that he does share a lot of things that the Pope is concerned about in terms of taking care of the poor, the refugees, the climate, things like this. Yes, he's telling the rest of his story. I hope Pope Francis would also meet with John Kasich if he goes. I hope he would meet with Donald Trump if he goes.
Do you think he would?
You know, it looks like it. He says it's common courtesy. But the person who got this visit for Sanders is a guy who definitely, a bishop, Sorondo, who's the head of this department in the Vatican on social sciences. He definitely leans left politically. And so he invited, for example, 10 mayors a little while ago, and they were all Democrats. He had Morales, Evo Morales of Bolivia at this Congress. Those are left-leaning people. Bernie Sanders is a left-leaning person, and I think it was because of that influence.
Would it be fair to call the Pope a left-leaning person at this
on certain things? Yeah, definitely. Not on, you know, he's pro-life, obviously. He's for traditional marriage, obviously. But on economics, I would say yes.
All right. Father John.
But that's the real story. It's not a theory.
And it's not a 20-minute sit-down meeting.
Get your facts from the guy who spent 9 years there and knows what he's talking about.
I hope there.
Hallway discussion.
At least as I see it.
Father John, thanks a lot.